Hello everybody. So here's the answer to today's quiz. So I've given you three images. The first two are low power images. So here you're seeing the epidermis and the dermis. What is obvious is even on sort of low power, you're seeing this fibroblastic nodular proliferation of dense collagen fibers closely packed together. Loss of adnexal units, you don't see any adnexy here. And you see the sort of blood vessels vertically oriented here. Collagen fibers seem to be parallelly oriented here, but here they become more whorled or vertically and sort of a nodular pattern here as well. In the, if you look at the epidermis, there's slight acanthosis. Now this is reactive. This is not part of the problem, but because there's so much inflammation here, which can happen in a number of conditions, there is reactive epithelial hyperplasia slightly, also associated with basal hypermelanosis and elongation of retinages. So you can see that here. And there are a few inflammatory cells in the papillary dermis, in the upper reticular dermis. Now we go into higher power, the same is quite obvious. Here in the reticular dermis, you're seeing that the collagen fibers here are also slightly thickened and also oriented parallel to the epidermis. This is quite a typical feature associated with the few inflammatory cells, mainly lymphocytes and a few histiocytes. The papillary dermis here is relatively spared, and this is what I meant by having a Gren zone. So that was one of the questions I put in the bottom. So yes, this tumor does definitely have this proliferation region does definitely have a Gren zone of normal papillary dermis, relatively normal papillary dermis. Now, when I say Gren zone, it depends on the context actually. So it doesn't mean that there are no inflammatory cells at all. It just means that the particular disease is not present here. So there is a Gren zone in that sense. What you're also seeing are a few melanophages. You can see here melanophages. Now melanophages, any condition which causes reactive epidermal hyperplasia, because the epidermal cells have to die eventually and they drop down, some of them, and when the basal layer is pigmented, the pigment gets into the upper dermis and leads to melanin incontinence and melanophages. So that it does not necessarily mean that there is epidermal inflammation necessarily. This is just reactive epidermal proliferation. Higher part of the reticular collagen shows that the collagen bundles are quite thickened, and you go even higher power, you see that they are sort of glassy, slightly glassy, homogeneous, quite swollen collagen bundles, what we call keloidal collagen. And these are surrounded by fibroblasts. These are sort of spindle-shaped epithelioid cells, which are fibroblasts, which produce the collagen and surround them. So this is called keloidal collagen, and here is another image showing you the fibroblasts. And here the fibroblasts, some of them are more rounded. This is because simply the fibroblast, though it's sort of spindle shaped, is cut in cross section, it appears rounded from the side. But these sort of very round, dark, dense nuclear lymphocytes, okay, these sort of more paler cells are the fibroblasts. Okay, so is this a vascular tumor? Definitely not. Smooth muscle tumor? Definitely not. Neural tumor? Definitely not. Fibrohistiocytic tumor? Yes. Basal hypermelanosis? Yes. Melanophages? Yes. Necrobiosis? No. This is just there's no necrobiosis. There's no degeneration of collagen. It's just new collagen being produced. Thickened collagen bundles? Yes. Mucin? No. There's no mucin. Mucin is usually visible as a blue substance. Gren zone? Yes. I know some of you may have answered no, but in this context, Gren zone is present because this is a keloid. That is the answer here. Now, how do you differentiate this from? Now, I purposefully didn't actually include hypertrophic scar in the differential, and I think that deserves an explanation. So, if you look at this article, there are a number of articles actually. So, the histological differential diagnosis of hypertrophic scars and keloids. Now, hypertrophic scars can be extremely difficult to differentiate from keloids. Experienced clinicians would know this fact. Now, there have been a number of studies. They found that the so-called diagnostic keloidal collagen is only found in 55% of keloids. Okay, so in 45% of them, there's no keloidal collagen. So how do you make the differentiation? Both clinically and hypertrophic scars, clinically and histologically, hypertrophic scars do overlap with keloids. There are a few clues that have been proposed to favor keloid, those being no flattening of the overlying epidermis. So if there's reactive epidermal hyperplasia, that suggests a keloid. No scarring of the papillary dermis, as in this case, there's no scarring, though the upper reticular dermis is scarred, there's no scarring of the papillary dermis. Presence of keloidal collagen, presence of prominent vertically oriented blood vessels, which I've shown you earlier, presence of prominent disarray of fibrous fascicles, nodules, presence of a tongue-like advancing edge underneath normal appearing epidermis. I'll show you that in a second. Horizontal cellular fibrous band in the upper reticular dermis and prominent fascia-like fibrous band. Now in this article itself, I'll show you the pictures in this article so that it's obvious. So you can see here, you see a tongue-like advancing edge underneath the epidermis. So this sort of advancement is typical of a keloid. And here in more advanced lesions, you can actually make out the Gren zone much more easily. In my case, it was a more involving lesion, there was more inflammation there, and therefore you were probably confused that there was no Gren zone because of the inflammation. So you see this nodular proliferation here, and yeah, this is the fibrous fascia-like proliferation in the lower half, which may be seen in some lesions. No, not all of them will have all the features. Now, if you look at this article in the International Wound Journal, they have proposed that, they have actually confirmed, I would say, and I completely agree with this theory, that keloid and hypertrophic scar are different forms of the same disorder. So they hypothesize that hypertrophic scar and keloid can be considered as successive stages of the same hyperproliferative skin disorder with different degrees of inflammation that might be affected by genetic predisposition. And the diagnosis is not always straightforward, either clinically or histologically. So the key messages from that paper is that traditionally it is believed that hyalinized collagen and dermal nodules are pathognomonic characteristics of keloid and hypertrophic scar respectively. However, we found that hyalinized collagen and dermal nodules coexist in keloids. More importantly, the former may initiate within the later. Okay, so difficult to differentiate. So they have suggested that these could be successive stages of the same condition of fibroproliferative skin disorder, differentiated by different degrees of inflammation. Such an hypothesis explains in part the clinical difference that keloids grow beyond confines of their original wounds, whereas hypertrophic scars grow within the boundaries of the original wounds. Okay. So, how do you differentiate the other differentials that I've put forth? Now, the first one is dermatofibroma. Dermatofibroma also has a Gren zone. If you look at low power, it's a very well circumscribed lesion. Doesn't have this sort of nodular proliferation, more of a diffuse fibrohistiocytic proliferation which tries to merge with the surrounding tissue. You go higher power, you see rather than thickened collagen bundles like here, you see sort of, yes, there is some amount of collagen thickening, but it's a much more cellular proliferation of fibrocytes. There are not many blasts. These were more smaller spindle-shaped cells, fibrocytes rather than fibroblasts. And you see this characteristic entrapment of collagen at the periphery. So the periphery, you see that the collagen is thicker and it's entrapped within a proliferation of histiocytes and fibrocytes. You're seeing here this sort of halo around the collagen bundle. So and the collagen is trapped within its own proliferation. So this is called entrapment of collagen bundles, which is typical, which you see it peripherally in a dermatofibroma. Okay. So this is how you differentiate a dermatofibroma. Now, how about histoid Hansen's? Histoid Hansen's can look like a dermatofibroma on low power. That's why it's called a histoid lesion. However, in histoid Hansen's, the clue is pretty obvious in some sections. You can see here the clear neurovascular bundle proliferation or proliferation of inflammatory cells along the neurovascular bundles. And much more sort of histiocytic cells, more in number than the fibrocytes. It's more of a histiocytic proliferation. These are called histiocytes. The cells are much more epithelioid rather than spindle-shaped cells. Epithelioid means slipper-shaped cells and more vesicular nuclei. And obviously, if you do a fight for Acker stain, you see numerous acid-fast bacilli. Now, the other differential, leiomyoma. Also, you see a Gren zone here, much more like a hypertrophic scar or a keloid. It's a nodular proliferation, but here the clue is in the cell type. You see that these look very much like muscle cells here. you can clearly make it out. But you go higher, you see this nice cigar-shaped nuclei. Eosinophilic cytoplasm merges with the surrounding cells, no clear cell borders, and there's no collagen really. This is all clearly a muscle tumor. Nice cigar-shaped vesicular nuclei. Okay. Then the other differential is neurofibroma. Neurofibroma, again, a nodular proliferation. Often you do have a Gren zone because it's the upper papillary dermis, reticular dermis are not involved. What the clue here again is that cell type, you see these sort of spindle-shaped cells with wavy nuclei, eosinophilic cytoplasm again, but you can make out each cell from each other. The cells are not merging with each other like in a leiomyoma. And here you can easily make out the wavy spindle-shaped nuclei. Contrast this with the cigar-shaped nuclei of a leiomyoma. Okay, I hope the explanation is clear. Thank you very much.